Not on purpose.
She just called us out for no reason.
No, she did.
Alright, did you guys dial into that one?
What room are you in? Whose classroom are you in?
The library.
The library.
Okay, I'll mute now.
Now that you know.
I can see her face.
Okay.
Are you still having lobster? I wanna hear from them. You still on the beach?
Yeah, show us the beach, Linda.
Yeah, what beach is she on?
She's in New York, probably.
Oh,
I think.
she should have told me.
Her
We
and-
just, I
her and
literally drove
Heidi.
back from today.
It's their annual
I'm like, I'm quick.
Linda and Heidi are there on vacation together.
Are you coming
Okay.
to?
Okay, so, yeah, hit record.
Yep.
Oh, Lindsay.
Oh, I'm just
It's like
calling
so-
the meeting to order.
Push it back, push it.
Okay, are we recorded? Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna call our regular meeting of the Hartland Schoolboard to order at 6:45, August 9th. So, we'll start with, I'm trying to see who we have in attendance. Oh, it's just us. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start with changes / additions to the agenda. We did already warn an executive session. We had one student matter at the time. We now have 2 student matters. So there'll be 2 different student matters we'll be discussing. And Heather had requested that we talk about public outreach. I want to hit on that very briefly in the principal's report, but we have a very full agenda today, and I don't think we can handle all of that. So we will put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
The other thing would just be the declaration of inclusion
Oh,
from
right.
the select board,
Yes, right,
if we want to discuss that.
we should, because they want us to vote on that.
I don't think we have to vote on it. I think
Okay.
it's more looking to support it.
Okay, oh,
and
because the town, okay.
Fill, yeah, like, and if it's not a voting matter.
Okay, okay. Are you prepared to discuss that?
Yeah, I can pull
Okay.
up what Phil said.
Okay, yeah, great, okay,
If
awesome.
we have further questions, we can always invite Phil to the next
Right.
meeting.
Great,
And-
okay. Yeah, we'll
But that
put
shouldn't
that
take
on for
long.
a short
Yeah.
conversation, and we'll table it if it goes
Yeah.
too far. Okay, and hold on, let me write notes. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022, and then June 23rd, 2022, which was our retreat. Anybody want to make that motion?
I so move to accept both those minutes.
Okay.
I can do them together, right?
Yeah, unless there's changes.
You know, I'm gonna have to abstain because I was only there for half of the retreat,
Okay.
so we might need to do them separately, so I can,
Okay.
I'll abstain.
So
from-
we'll,
Oh. Yes, do them separately, because I was just remembering that's when I had COVID.
And you had COVID, yes, okay.
oh, right, okay, so we'll do them
There
separately.
virtually for a small part.
Right.
Okay, so. that's
I
right.
moved June 7th.
Okay, Beth
This
moves
meeting.
June
I'll
7th.
second.
Okay, Sarah second. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve the minutes for June 7th, 2022. Is there any discussion? No? Okay, so we can vote, all those in favor of approving the minutes from June 7th, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
That's what the issue is.
So that's 5-0. And then I'll take a motion for the minutes of June 23rd. That's you two.
I moved.
Okay.
I just don't know the exact language to say, so I'm gonna.
And so you're gonna say second.
Oh, I'll second it.
There you go. So
Yeah.
Heather seconds, Colleen moves, Heather seconds. Okay. Is there any discussion on the minutes of June 23rd? Okay. So we'll vote on that. All those in favor of approving the June 23rd, 2022 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that was
Abstain.
3.
Abstain.
Okay, and then no votes? None, okay,
Just
and then
abstention.
Yeah.
2 abstentions. Okay, so that was 3 approvals, no votes, and 2 abstentions. Okay, do we have any public participation or announcements?
Can I add something about public participation, question about it, or
Yeah.
something? Wondering about school times, the 7:50, I saw something and another parent had asked me about, like, now school's starting at 7:50 and not 8 and going to 2:25 and not, like, am I missing something or?
Starts, kids can arrive at 7:50, starts at 8.
Okay, so
It
what
goes
is
until 2:25.
2:25, so so we just extended it 10 minutes instead of 15 or 30?
The pickup time is 2:25 to 2:35, so it's a
Okay.
window
Okay.
at the front end and the back end.
And I have, Heather, by the end of the week, I'll send out a letter to families, and in there it'll have the start and end times.
Details.
Got it, okay.
Great.
Thank you.
We have one announcement we can make, right? A good one about speaking of after, at the end of the day, John did find a director for the after-school program.
Oh,
Yes, he did.
So, which is great news.
That's great news.
Here's a question, is there a concern that, now that I've got special interest, that kindergartners are not allowed at the after-school program? It's only grades 1 through 6?
I think you should talk to John.
Okay.
I know
just
that,
going-
yeah.
Okay.
Is that a new thing?
No,
Okay.
it's been that way for a while, but
Okay.
I think there are, I would talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other public announcements? No? Okay. Administrative report.
All right, I
Share
will,
it?
yep, I'll share it. Let's see. Working, there we go. Slideshow. Okay, so in an effort for Christine and I to streamline presentations, there'll be an administrative report instead of a principal's report and a superintendent's report. So you
noticed that.
So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Figured it would make sense. So
love
what
that
we'll do
credit.
is typically my stuff will be at the beginning and then Christine will add her stuff on the end. So it'll be called the administrative report. So I wanted to start with Summer Academy. We had, oh my goodness, I want to say it was 39. Hartland had the most students that went to Summer Academy this year. It was wonderful. I got to spend a lot of time at Summer Academy and it was great seeing the kids. Some were fishing on Fridays. We got one picture of a student who got this really huge fish and the smiles on the kids' faces was amazing. It was incredible. And we only have, thankfully, one hiring update for our certified staff, which is Laura Whalen, who's a school counselor. And I think in our last meeting, Christine, the board gave you the power to approve her. So that was the only certified staff that we needed to hire, which was wonderful. She
related to
was,
Sean?
her,
No, I don't think so.
no, okay. She did previously work at Hartland as a support staff a number of years ago and then left when her and her husband had kiddos. So she is excited to come back and she's gonna be a great addition.
Okay.
The last meeting, we talked about the town treasurer, so we talked with the town manager and he gave us the insight that it's an elected position, that she is the town treasurer, and that the school, we utilize her service, but by statute, the town treasurer serves both us and the town of Hartland. That the stipended amount for the FY 23 is $4,200, and he had suggested that we put a line item in for her stipend for next year when we start
And
thinking
it's
about the budget.
4,200 for the town and for us.
Correct.
So a line item as in a specific vote?
Just included
Just
in the
included.
budget.
In the budget,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. I wanted to include this too. This will go out in a newsletter to families at the end of the week as well. Throughout the whole SU, we wanted to increase security as much as we could, and so these will be posted on the main entrance. It just explains to visitors how to come in. So what will happen is someone will get in through that first door, because it's a double lock, so you can unlock one without unlocking the other, which is really nice. So someone will come in through the first door. We'll have someone from the office come down and physically meet them in that vestibule area, determine what their purpose is and who they're here to see, and then we'll escort them into whatever location that they've got an appointment for. So I just wanted to post this, but it'll also go home to families in my newsletter at the end of the week.
Oh, Steph,
staff's gonna get their steps in.
Oh, they will.
They're gonna-
Yes, they will. They will. All right, Larry.
Yeah, so this is the fourth quarter financials for Hartland, and it's also in the board portal. I can see it. Yeah, I know the numbers. So it's
You want a
I also
copy
put
of
it in the board portal, so it's there too if you want to see it in PDF form. Basically, no real change. Harlan's in good shape. You are right now pre-audit confirmation, so things can change a little bit. 429,000 in the black, so
Wow.
you would have a surplus in 22. If this is why it's fourth quarter, last quarter, but you're in good shape. And once we get this confirmation from the audit, we expect that in September, October. Plenty of time before the 24 budget gets going. If anybody has any questions.
And it looks like the bulk,
Yeah, I was just trying to see like where.
the
does
bulk of
numbers
that
come from?
reduction is
Contracted services and some transportation. Not a big amount, but percentage-wise, transportation.
Okay.
Travel, yeah,
Yeah.
percentage-wise.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know the
And
breakout.
slightly
of
below on
athletics.
wages, but that adds up.
Yeah, it adds up because it's a big
That's our
amount.
biggest
It's the
amount.
biggest amount, and throughout Vermont, I'm sure you've read the stories, and our SU hasn't been any innocent to it. Is that hard to find people? Job openings stay open for longer than they have, which is not great for the kids, maybe, but it's good for the bottom line in the last quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But not great for the kids though. Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And thinking about the FY24 budget, the board had asked for some possible expenditures when thinking about putting the budget together. So earlier this evening, we met with, with Keith from Black River Designs. I think it was in the board portal, the previous one from 2014 that Black River Designs did. And his estimate, if we wanted to continue the work and maybe an updated similar proposal, would be in the ballpark of $10,000 to $15,000. So that, he's going to get a more accurate estimate to Jim Taft, and then we can present that to you. But that was this evening his ballpark estimate, somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000. In talking with Jim for larger projects in the building, we would love to replace. Right now, it's carpet from as you walk in all the way through to the main office. We would love to be able to replace that with ECP tiles. The plus side of those is they're really durable. You don't have to sand and wax them every year like you would have to laminate tiles. That would be in the ballpark of about $16,500. And the last thing I put on there, more just as an FYI, we have a van that is purchased by Hartland. It's a 2009 with about 119,000 miles on it. We use it, I would say, on a semi-regular basis. We have students that are here that we transport to Windsor multiple times a week. We, bring kids where they need to go depending on the need. So it more just as an FYI for the board that we do have it. It's in fine working condition right now, but it is getting on the older end potentially of its life, and so I just wanted to give that to you so that you knew ahead of time.
Were you able to chat with Jim at all about potential for leasing a van versus buying? Any of those thoughts?
We
sorry.
tend not to lease. We
Okay.
buy outright, and usually using capital reserve. Mount Scotney's purchased 2 vans.
Okay.
And Harlan's was purchased, not leased. Now, because we just don't want to pay the interest if you don't have to. Now, we are in discussions with Student Transportation of Vermont for SU, for special ed, about possibly not a lease, but a rental agreement,
Okay.
which would be part of kind of like the transportation budget, rather than them using Mount Scotney's vans. They could use their own for the SU, and that way it could serve all SU kids, and it's not one school district's van. So we're not a big fan of leasing.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea though, like that.
It would be more like a rental agreement, like a set amount per day, and if
Yeah.
it's 185 days, that would be the amount. Almost like a Hertz, rent a car or something.
Yeah. I guess I just I'm worried about maintaining a vehicle. and being responsible for,
Upkeep.
upkeep and safety and all of those things.
And when Jim bought the Mount Scotney ones, we've been buying them from a local dealer and maintenance person right in town in Windsor, so
Okay.
that he can maintain
Yeah.
everything right there.
Okay.
And we don't have to go far-flung and miss appointments or whatever. It's right there in town, so that's a benefit too.
And the new one is a hybrid.
The new one's a
Ah,
hybrid.
It is
benefit
nice.
too.
You'll hear a little bit more on that van in
Yeah.
a few slides.
Okay.
The van's gonna make another
Good to know.
appearance.
Christine mentioned this. Hey, that's all right. It's doubly exciting that the
Yes.
John Leonard is very, very optimistic. He has hired an after-school director, and we as a school are trying to be really flexible on people that would like to work there after school. We're trying to rearrange their schedules to make it so they can be here for, maybe with the exception of the last 5 to 10 max minutes of the day to be able to get to the rec and help support them too. So,
Nice. That's
which is
great. That's
fantastic.
awesome. Yeah.
And SBAC results, they're currently still embargoed, but if you, the board, would like to look at them in executive session, we can do that in September.
I think I might like to do that.
Okay, we will put it on the list.
Why, so was something, like, I've got SBAC results sent home, right?
You can get them, they can be sent to
Individually.
individual families, they can't.
But I got one child's and not the others, does it matter? Like, why would?
You've gotten them already?
We, as a
Somebody
school,
got sent home.
We got ours like on the last day of
Yeah,
school.
yeah, they got sent home.
Yeah.
some of the teachers sent them home.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh.
so it was up to the teacher.
Well, we typically, print them, it depends when they come in, they did come in June this year, and, David Lamb actually prints them all. They're in the office for open house, this is when we typically give them out. So
Oh.
teachers like to be able to talk to parents about them around conference time. So that's why, but there's no reason why you can't, if you want them, you can,
We can get them.
individually, we can send them.
No, I was more curious
Yeah.
what the system was. I don't really care what they
But
say.
we can put it on the executive session to look at the SBAC results in September.
Okay.
And I wanted to include some upcoming events. The first day of school is the 31st. Our plan is to have an open house combined with a community dinner on September 22nd from 5 to 6:30. And picture day is September 30th.
Nice. No,
Yeah.
God, that's early. So I was gonna add Heather's request to talk about, public events. Are we gonna do, I assume we're gonna do our regular schedule of, like pre-COVID, trying to have an event every quarter, like, like 4
They're
times a
already
year, or
scheduled, I
3 times a
believe.
year? Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I thought. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah, like math night or STEM
Yeah.
night or whatever.
We're trying to tie as many of those things that we can to community dinners, so
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have twice the reason to come. which
Yes.
is nice.
Just, that's awesome.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
you didn't put in kindergarten's orientation day on.
Oh, thank you, I missed that one. Oh,
I'm so
bummer,
excited
yes.
about it. What
That
else
one
is
is going to be
25th,
the
right?
20, I don't have my
25th,
calendar in front of me to
25th.
look.
it? I might have just made that up.
I think it's the 25th.
I think it's the 25th, I
think
have
it's
it in my
25th, is it
calendar, but I'm
Thursday?
sharing
Yeah.
the screen. Oh, thank you, Heather, no, I feel bad, I didn't put that in there.
I love when they go all
Oh, it's my
Oh my
turn.
God,
Alright.
they're gonna be so excited.
So I am gonna report out tonight on, some of the work that the administrative team has been doing. We spent a lot of time together lately. We, had our retreat and then we went to the VPA conference together, so, and we spent time doing a lot of hard work and also some time getting to know each other and having some fun, which is, necessary. So one of the activities we did, we felt it was really important to come together as a team and talk about what our core values are. So each member of the team got a deck of core value cards. I think there were like 50 in the deck, and they had to sort them into piles. And the first task was they had to whittle the pile down to their 10 top core values that really who they are, what they believe in. And then they had to whittle that down to 5, and then they had to whittle that down to 3. It's a really difficult task. And then we, as a group, entered those into a Wordle here. And so you can see that the top values for our team are integrity, family, and community. And not that all the others aren't important, but that is really, that describes who we are as a team.
That's cool.
Which speaks to who we are as a team.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised by the results.
Yeah.
So, and those are all of the core values, one of our tasks at one of our future meetings is to whittle those down to our top 3. I don't think it's gonna be that hard, but as an administrative team.
Go to the next slide, Christine.
Yeah, sorry, I'm clicking. I don't have control of that. We also spent some time doing some visioning work, and this came out of some of you were at the Mary Gannon meetings where she tasked the board to go find the vision, and it wasn't found because it doesn't really exist. And so we're gonna work on that this year as a community, as a whole community, but as an administrative team, we wanted to work through it ourselves to kind of come up with a draft version that we can share, and it'll change based on input from stakeholders. But we did an activity where the administrators had to take the Be the Voice, which is our part of our strategic plan, what we hold our hat on, and we believe that our vision is embedded in our strategic plan, but it's not a real clear and compelling statement that people can just say, right, this is who we are, this is what we do. So we took that phrase, be the voice, and we had to illustrate that in a picture of sorts, magazine cover, diagram, whatever the teams wanted to do. And so it was quite interesting to see they all came out very similarly.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had to put words to what that meant, what be the voice meant to them. So in the end, I will say Team Melina, she used Canva. She said, can we use technology? And the final one we all had a piece of, we collaborated on. It didn't change much from the beginning, but our phrase, be the voice, achieving, leading, learning a better tomorrow for all is what came out of our visioning work, and it'll be interesting to see how the community and the teachers and the students change that, work that, make it their own, which we'll report back. And then there's the van. All right, so we took it, and the license plate fell off
the
on
new
our
van?
way.
Yeah.
So we were driving an unmarked van. And we realized it when we got where we were going, and so we called Larry, I think. We're like, Larry, what do we do?
Yeah.
So we got the plate number, and we didn't have any tape, so we used Post-its to hang it in the back window. And it fell off, and we didn't know it. We were driving. We got pulled over by a cop, and he was.
I felt like I had a plate on my head when I heard the phone.
He walked up, and he was a little nervous. And Colleen rolled the window down. She said, "We're teachers. We're teachers." And we didn't.
Did you just turn around and walk back?
No, he came up and he helped us. He said, "Well, you got to put it up there, and you do have to put like Vermont on there." We just had numbers. We had no state on it.
And then he went home and told everybody.
We stuck it back
They're
up. We
laughing
got
about
some
it
new
now.
Post-its, and we made it back, and the plates have arrived. They're here. So, and that was we used the van. We've used it twice. It's great to have it. And just a couple of updates, just so you know. Some of you know this already, but we posted the coordinator for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we created an interview committee, a diverse interview committee. The committee has met. We've reviewed candidates. We've selected candidates to interview. We've created questions, and we are interviewing tomorrow night and Thursday night. So
Wow.
we have 4 candidates that we're interviewing. So we feel pretty fortunate about that, actually. Jim wanted me to report building maintenance projects are on track throughout the SU. At Hartland, there was a float issue in the well, which he is handling and will be ready before school starts. So I think we were having some water issues recently, but
Is the well level okay?
What happened?
Yeah, it's nothing to do with
Yeah.
the well. It's
Good.
it's just the
it's
float.
outside the well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be fixed before school starts. And then, just so you, I think Larry mentioned this, the auditors, they completed the preliminary work, and they're gonna return in September to complete that work, and then we'll come back with any changes or recommendations.
Yeah, and then it'll be up, as you know, you'll be able to do in the 24 budget cycle, you'll deal with whatever is left in 22.
Yep.
And in Heartland particularly, you have to send it to a vote. It can't just be a board
Yep.
decision.
And that concludes the report. You will be getting, principals will be sending letters out. I'll be sending, we try to hold on to summer as long as we can, but parents are itching to know some details, so those will go out this week. about the opening of school. And we are on track to open. We've got, we revised our family student handbook, and this year, one of our tasks was to create a centralized employee handbook. We all had our own, so that was one of the jobs of a subcommittee at our retreat, to take all of the handbooks and find out what was common and put in what we thought was necessary. So those will be copied, and the school logos will go on the front, but they're SU documents.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really very collaborative team working together, so.
Nice. Well, that was good. I like the short and
Short, sweet, to the point.
yeah, we'll take it. The team effort is good.
Can I ask a few questions as I write them down? I'm sorry. I'm wondering about your summer academy, which sounded fabulous. Did you guys do any sort of, like, at the end to see, like, its effectiveness? Like, if summer academy, like, is effective, and, like, what improvements can happen for next year to make it even better?
I guess that's like a Katie question.
No, we
I
do.
assume- Oh, maybe
We
you know
do.
the answer.
We use
Okay.
Track My Progress
Okay.
for the benchmark for kids to attend, and then we will retest all kids in the fall and Track My Progress. And last year, Brittany presented, I think, at the SU level, the progress.
Awesome.
Yep.
It was worth it. Yep.
Yeah.
And then my other question comes with protocol for safety. Do, like, besides this whole front door thing that we have now, like, do we have a protocol for safety that, like, everybody in the building, like, knows what to do and what their role is when it happens, if it happens?
So all of the SU employees, I think this is what you're asking, Heather, are being retrained in Alice protocol.
Got it.
Like, come this fall, so everyone will have the same common understanding. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And we do have a safety team that meets monthly, and we plan drills and we debrief those drills and make sure that the staff are up to speed on what they should do. It's
So
not fun, but
Yeah.
you gotta know what to do.
Yeah,
And-
so one quick comment to make sure, like, so I got left out of that circle in my own employment of training because I work across every single school.
Yep.
And so no one's responsible for my training
Yeah.
in that essence, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and also I was talking like the speech pathologist, the physical therapist, all those people that are more like contracty,
Yeah.
but they're in and out. Like, I just stood in me and the speech pathologist were in like in our office during a lockdown drill, and we're like, I think what we're doing is the right thing, so.
Okay.
So just to double check to make sure it was a hole
Plus,
that
you
was
guys
like,
are the
ooh.
ones that are coming in.
Yeah, we're coming and going.
Yeah.
Like, we had an issue at one of our schools, and I literally drove up and almost walked into the school as there was an issue happening. It wasn't
Yeah,
aware of it.
and some of what Jim has learned at his safety training, because he's our lead on this.
Yeah.
That I think he said there is a light you can get, so if you're in a lockdown, at the front of the school, there's like a light.
That's what our system has.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it meant.
Oh, we don't have
Because we were
that.
left out.
No, we don't.
We don't have that. We've also
Yeah.
talked about, I've heard, I don't know if it's, I don't have all the details, but there is, I think, an app that you can install on one of the biggest safety concerns is a teacher will go outside with their class for recess and leave their door open, so they can come back in. And that's a big safety concern. Those doors need to be closed at all times unless you're exiting or entering. And it's not intentional, they just forget. But there is, I believe, something you can install on the door that will then, if that door stays open for a short period of time, will sound an alarm.
Alarming.
Oh, God.
So you know to shut it. Yeah.
Separately
remember.
from the Alice training, we're on the fall list for a state safety audit, where they're gonna go through each building, and they're gonna give us a list of things that should be really prioritized, don't need to be prioritized right away, but should get done. And, so that'll be more to follow on that. Right now, we're on the fall list, so hopefully in the fall.
We
Are
did
you
it.
saying Alice?
Yeah, ALICE.
Is that a new safety?
No, it's been around for a few years, and the last time they were trained on it was pre-COVID.
2018,
Yeah.
I believe. It's the run, hide, fight.
Yeah.
it's not stay.
It's not
It's
stay
not,
in
it's
cover.
not stay in the cover, it's you, if the teacher and the students make the decision whether they're gonna stay, that's the safest, thing to do, or if they're gonna run, they're gonna evacuate, or they're gonna fight back, and we don't teach our young kids to fight back, we do discuss it in middle level, like,
Yeah.
if this happens, you can throw something, and that's based on research that's come out from school shootings, that is.
And the running.
Yeah,
And the running.
yeah. So that's what that protocol, is all
Thank you.
about. Yeah. And it's sad that we have to talk about these things, but we do, so.
Is there any, like, I know one of the frustrations for teachers is having to walk all the way back to one of the main entrances to get their classes back in. Like, I'm assuming it's exorbitantly expensive to let teachers cart into their own rooms.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
And you can't let them key into their own room.
They do
lock.
have, from COVID, they have exterior door keys, it's not best practice to have those out, so, Jim would like to collect them, but then they have to walk all the way around, or they can key in, there's a key at the end of the,
Right.
K1 hallway.
And we could look and maybe possibly, again, depending on what the safety audit comes out with, and we have to prioritize. But to make it easier on the teachers, we could put a card around, especially at Hartland, you could do around the staff room.
There is one there.
There, you could do one there, and
Yeah.
you could pick a classroom or two, or a
Yeah.
hallway.
Yeah.
Or maybe the end of the building, I know there's one there.
There's one there.
So
there's one
we
at-
could
Oh,
try
it's
to
not too
find
bad
it,
here,
so
then.
they don't
It's
have to,
Do the
they don't
not
have to
all the
walk
way
all the
around.
way
Yeah,
around.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can look at that again.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
What about temperature in the rooms? I know I think one of the flaws is always that, you know, especially in early September, right at the, the rooms get so hot and people obviously just to try to cool everybody down, open the doors. Do we have any approach to that? Do we talk about it? Do we get fans for people if they might need one so they don't have to do that, or?
Well, and even the windows. I mean, what's the difference between some of our windows and a door?
If the door's open, it's gotta be closed.
Yeah, and that's our
If
message
it is,
to
the
staff,
difference is they have to
Doors
try to
have
break
be
the window.
closed.
But if the window's open,
No, well,
There's screens, I mean, yeah, you're
some of
right.
our windows are not that different from a
Yeah.
door. I mean,
true.
these are, but other ones are like full
But,
size.
I mean, it would take a little bit more effort to get in
Yeah.
a window, and time is critical in those
Yeah.
types of
Yeah.
situations, but, I think a lot of classrooms have fans. There are a couple of, rooms that have air conditioning.
like this one.
There's one, the art room. I believe that at one point there was a plan to put some AC units or in.
Heat pumps.
Yeah, but when you have to, I mean, it's priorities in the budget, right?
Right.
So.
Yep.
And if you have a few more years like 22, then you can
It's
look,
gonna be a higher priority.
you can look at the capital
Priorities gonna
reserve
change.
and try to build it up and see where your priorities are.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so unless anybody has any further questions for the administrative report, I'm gonna move on to items for discussion. We kind of already hit on the treasurer's role.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's an elected position that we're required, to split with the town. It's also not an enormous cost. And we did choose to increase her pay
Yep.
immediately.
To make it equal,
Right,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
to make it equal with what the town, yeah. So unless anybody else has anything further on that, I'm gonna check that off as done. Okay. So we looked at, one of the discussions is, I'm gonna skip over, closeout of the FY 22 budget report. I
Yeah.
think we just discussed that too, so I'm gonna check that off too. This is helpful.
Oh.
So, moving right along. Big picture budgetary changes anticipated for FY 24. We also already talked about that, and that was the floors, or the entrance floor, which I'm super excited about, just based on how many times I personally have spilled coffee on that floor. And that guilt can now
That was the
go
15
away.
or 16,000?
Yeah, that was 16.5, I think.
Yes.
And then we talked about, the, yeah, a van, but that's really looking,
It's looking maybe.
Further out, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I I think it'll be fine. There's no, at least at this point, there's no
Yeah.
large expenses needed on it, so hopefully we can
Okay.
continue using it as normal.
Okay, and then the last one was the Black River, which we'll discuss in a minute. So that's it for budgetary changes. You would stay the course as far as staffing and anything else.
What's happening with our bubble class next year, just to track that situation? That, next
They're
year
going
is the year when it normalizes,
Sixth.
right? Cause they go into middle school?
They go into sixth grade next year.
They go into, okay.
They're in fifth grade this year. As you recall, the 516 came with a plan.
Right, exactly.
So I think they would like to keep that plan in place for the
That's
following
right, so
year.
that was my, question, sort of, is
That's-
how,
Yeah.
because that class will be in sixth grade, so it would be essentially keeping the same level of staffing for that group. Okay. And that's the proposal, to
Yep.
keep that, okay.
Slightly off topic, what are our numbers? Did we get any more kids this summer or?
We've gotten some, there's some that I'm still waiting for registration on Lori Brown,
Okay.
so there's a few that we're
Okay.
waiting on, but yes, we have gotten a decent amount, which is good, but still just kind of waiting on finalizing, residency confirmation.
What are we talking?
How many kindergartners?
Oh gosh, how
We're
many? I
in the
wanna say
30s.
for the other week, Linda and I were in the office the other week, someone called with 5 kiddos, which is great, like 1 or 2 Ks, a couple first and 1 second, like it was fantastic,
But it's like,
oh, no, yeah, we're like, we'll take them
that's
all,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
fantastic.
fantastic, nice.
Larry's gonna give us the number right.
Oh, thank you, Larry.
As of today,
Oh,
Today.
again, if there's some that are sitting
Yeah, we're up
on
Yeah, there
Lori's,
might-
247, so you're up from last
We're
year.
up from last year.
Good.
nice.
Yeah, I think there's some still
There's some still
waiting.
on her desk and she's gonna get those out.
Down to
when she has time.
240 last year, I think at our lowest point.
I feel like we were just like at 280, just like a couple years ago.
Yeah, we were.
Yes, you were.
We were. Yeah. Plummet.
But we do have a large kindergarten class
We
of,
do.
um,
Yep.
where's the total?
33.
33, oh, there it is, right in front of me.
33.
Yeah, nice.
33.
And I know there's at least 2 K students waiting, I think, paperwork wise.
Paperwork
So it'll
wise,
be at
maybe
least
at
a couple of
35.
Ks, yeah.
That's nice to see class sizes back in,
And some of those students will be in TK. Some will be in our, we have a special program for some autistic students. We don't have a name for that program yet. So in.
Just kindergarten autistic students.
So in terms of numbers in classrooms, it's not outrageous.
gotcha. Okay. So that's great on big picture budgetary, so then we'll just start running numbers in,
I think the following year is the financial cliff that everybody's talking about, right? That's when our ESSER funds run out. We've got
Right.
one more year of staff funded by
Right.
ESSER.
And the SU board made a decision, which they can change, but they wanted to put in the 24 budget, which is the upcoming one, the DEI coordinator. They wanted to locally fund it and not have it out of ESSER for 24 to commit to it. And then we have a position per our strategic plan, the data coordinator position, which would go to the local SU budget, which is currently grant funded at ESSER. So that's the only changes I see, and I think we'll get that SU budget committee up and running.
And
We
some-
usually meet on Fridays.
Yeah, and some curriculum funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, the curriculum budget. I'm
Right.
talking about FTEs, yeah.
Yes, but in terms of
we need to
SU
spend
budget.
money on curriculum.
curriculum, the curriculum budget is next to nothing, and it's a problem.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
And the
Okay.
meal budget may change some depending on universal meals.
Yeah.
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 Keep fighting.
Mhm.
Okay, so, now we're on to the building committee discussion, which, do you want me to, do you
Yeah,
want
why
it,
don't
or
you
you
just-
want?
I mean, I feel like I haven't really had an independent part of it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's what we all just did together.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
Okay, so we just, a very small building committee, Sarah and myself and the administrative team, plus Jim Taff from the SU met, with, Black River Design, who did a facility report for us in 2014 that outlined the state of our building and also had some preliminary designs to address some of the challenges that we're facing. And those primary challenges are the security of our front entrance. It really comes down to two big ones. It's the security of our front entrance and then the conflicts and scheduling conflicts with the Cafegimatorium situation.
I like that old name.
That was a Jeff Marino name and it's just
Yeah.
so appropriate. It's like, what is this
Explains
thing?
the conflicts.
It explains the conflicts quite nicely. And so those are the big ones. And then one of the more minor things that we would like to address is potentially, depending on how things work out, building in some smaller meeting spaces because we're running out of individualized educational places for
Like
special.
spots to meet with students.
Yeah, we don't have any more spots to
Smaller
meet with
Some
students.
spots to test students.
Yeah.
Those kinds of places, yeah.
Quiet spaces where you would have an individual meeting. And then all of those changes also bring up whether or not we need to sprinkler the building and what codes trigger that requirement. So we talked to Keith. Does anybody know Keith's last name?
First name basis.
Just Keith.
Just Keith. It's Keith.
Just Keith.
So we talked, Keith came and met us before the meeting tonight, to talk about, what it would look like, to
Keith
move
is
forward.
associated with who?
Black River
Black
Design.
River, okay.
So he's the one, their company is the one that did,
Yeah,
or their
way
design
back
firm, yeah.
It
And,
sounds like he was involved in the,
yeah, it sounds like he was
Yeah.
involved in the actual project
Nice.
back then. So, so that's nice, and it also sounds like, there's not wasted money, by putting things on hold for a while and then coming back. They have all the plans, they have all the concepts that they sketched. So we're now looking at, potentially hiring them to do, $10,000 to $15,000 worth of work to, put together a plan that we could use to, float the idea to the voters and see where we stand.
for
We called
FY
it a
'24.
pre-bond.
Right, a pre-bond.
Pre-bond.
Contract, which would set us up for the bond. Yeah, and we're not moving fast on this, like, we're just excited that we made any forward progress.
And the
So-
timing is good, because I've done 5-year plans for the other two buildings, I've been waiting on this. So if this will
Yeah.
be good to update the plan, which is almost 10 years old now,
Right,
and,
Yep.
and prior to my role here, so I think it would be good for me to get with Keith and Jim and
Yeah.
and get this updated plan, and allow us to do a 5-year plan, which would be separate than the bond
Yeah.
projects.
yep,
But a lot of overlapping
Yeah.
research.
So you have the whole
work.
picture.
Yeah.
yep.
So
Yep.
this is not a new school, this is fixing, like.
Yeah, and I
adding-
directly asked that question.
Okay.
Because it was floated, Keith very much said this building is, it's not perfect in all ways, but that there's no reason that you would raise the building and start over.
Good
Um,
bones.
It's
Yeah,
got,
good
yes,
bones.
it's got good bones.
Yeah.
It's got issues, but it is salvageable and,
And with
And a
with
good place to
maintenance,
build.
will
Yeah.
be good for quite a long time.
yeah. And we've spent a lot in the last couple of years maintaining the building.
Yeah.
And I think it's in good shape. Like, you look at it and it doesn't look awful, so.
Except for the Hartland Elementary School,
The
the
O.
O has fallen off.
They always fall. It's
Every
on-
summer.
Yeah. Every summer the O comes off.
One letter comes down every summer.
Okay, someone get on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll get on it.
First day school.
Send an email now.
Yeah.
It's on the stand.
On the list. Oh,
So
okay.
it's I don't know what you
The
call
O
it.
has not been lost.
It's on.
It's in the flower garden right
There you
underneath
go.
it.
It's on the flower garden right underneath it.
Where I would think.
I don't think of flowers, so it's on the garden with the weeds
The
underneath it.
weeds, okay, we'll find it.
So it's split up in half. So I think you could glue it together.
One came down this year, kid hit it with a basketball and it split into
Split.
multiple pieces and we glued it back together.
Okay.
This one I only saw 2 parts.
Well, that's good. It's an improvement. Okay.
I was looking for it.
So are there any board questions of the building committee?
I'm away out.
I think so. I mean, it's just
So
nice to
just get
move them
lost.
inching forward. Yeah.
I would say that one of the things that sort of came up was this question of, can we just reconfigure our existing space, or do we need to add some space
Yeah.
onto the building? And so I think that for the board to just going forward, obviously one is more expensive than the other.
Yeah.
But as we really looked at the plans, and those will be available to everybody, really without adding some square footage, it's just almost impossible to get what we want, which is a very, a secured lobby with the office on it, so that you really can't get into any other parts of the building without going through the office and being let in, and having more cafeteria space, designated cafeteria space, so we're not competing. So we'll, you guys can look at all the plans and sort of see that, but just to keep in mind that,
Yeah, I can't.
I had to work through that in my mind. I think I'd been thinking, oh, we just have to move some walls and.
And I can see how, I think, moving forward, that may be the hard sell, because if we're saying, well, our numbers of students are not going down, but you need more space.
Right.
So I think just trying to figure out, well, what, and then you think, well, if it's the cafegimatorium, we're trying to use one space for 3 functions, and it just isn't effective, so that's why.
And our theater program has grown a lot. Probably our athletic program has grown, if we look at.
Well, and our PE requirements have grown,
And our PE requirements and.
Yeah. So everything being grown,
And then the
the food
one-on-one-
program wants to grow.
The one-on-one space is
Yeah.
is a really big thing.
yeah, that's a really big issue. And I even asked, just historically, because I know that in the 90s, we had massive amounts of students here. And I just can't imagine how we fit all those students in the building, and it turns out that we had,
Do we have a
temporary buildings.
Yeah.
So,
Trailer things.
so that really helps me, like, get my head around the fact that we have declining enrollment, but we still can't fit in the building. And the 90s fit, but it doesn't sound like the 90s fit
Yeah, it would be
either.
interesting to see when those trailers showed up and when they disappeared,
Yeah,
and what were those numbers at that
Yeah.
time.
The
And
other
then-
thing to think about is all the supports that kids need these days, that
so
that has changed. Like,
Yes.
we have social emotional interventionists, we have interventionists, we have more special educators, we have HCRS clinicians, we have school psychologists, that, everybody needs, like,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
And then-
And those are all
There's more
legally
people.
mandated
yeah.
programs, and the confidentiality is legally
Right.
mandated, so
Yeah.
I think
And
that's a good point.
I think in the 90s, special education wasn't integrated into the classroom. It was its own entity.
It was not as integrated,
Yeah.
it should have been, but it was,
It was on the
Right.
edge of being integrated. Yeah, and I think that drives the demand for space. So, okay, so I'm checking that off the list.
I got a picture.
Heather's
What?
drawn a floor plan.
I have floor plans.
She has real ones.
I have floor plans.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to draw them. I have meeting notes on the back of that, but, okay. So we're on to the
Declaration of Inclusion,
Yes.
sure. So, one of our select board members, Phil Hobby, is putting forth the select board sometime, he hasn't yet, I believe, of the town putting forth a Declaration of Inclusion. It is brought, let me pull it up on my phone. Vermont Declaration of Inclusion, so it's in a, Vermont's Declaration of Inclusion is a grassroots effort working with community leaders to reinforce the message that Vermont is a safe and welcoming place for all. So, and if you look, actually Windsor and Weathersfield has already signed on to this
The
declaration.
towns.
The towns
Windsor has a different one.
has a different Declaration of Inclusion. Well, they're on their website as listed.
Is it, did you read the whole thing?
So, well, I just read like who signed up,
Oh.
and I read the declaration.
I thought you'd read it in its entirety.
Read the declaration in its entirety?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the declaration. The declaration is, it's actually not that long. The town of blank condemns racism and welcomes all persons regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender identity or expression, age or disability, and wants everyone to feel safe and welcome in our community. As a town, we formally condemn all discrimination in all its forms, commit to fair and equal treatment of everyone in our community, and will strive to ensure all of our actions, policies, and operating procedures reflect this commitment. The town of blank has and will continue to be a place where individuals can live freely and express their opinions by the blank select board on blank date. That's the
That's the
declaration.
state one.
Yep, so that's the declaration that would be put forth to the select board to say, our town wants to sign on to this, and I guess they would vote, because they would sign on as a town. And so Phil just approached me, as his neighbor and school board member, to say, do you think the school, would be wanting to be supportive of this? And it seems very in alignment with all our DEI work that we're doing, but he just wanted to say that if it came up at the select board, that he would feel comfortable saying, yes, the school board is also behind this commitment from the town. And so he didn't want to speak for any of us before we as a committee just could speak on it.
The Mount Escutney School District adopted an
Sure.
equity declaration last night at their meeting, and they adopted the same one that the town of Windsor select board had adopted. Previously, it's a little bit different. I can share it with you if you'd like. And I know Elizabeth was planning to bring it up at the next SU board meeting, so
So
she'll
would
be
it
happy to hear.
Great.
Yeah.
An SU?
Mount Escutney adopted
but it's-
their own,
Okay.
so you could certainly adopt your own. The SU
Yeah.
the SU board could adopt one as well.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm personally, I think that it fits with what we're trying to do as a school, and I'd love it if the town was,
It's a declaration, different from a policy, we're just saying. these
well,
things.
and at the end of it, it
Yeah.
does say, our policies,
Not just saying, not
yeah, no,
diminishing
we're just
it.
saying it.
Right.
We'll strive to ensure all our actions, policies, and operating procedures reflect this commitment. So we are saying that. So I think if something isn't along with these, if the policy is against this, you could kind of say, hey, this statement, we made this promise, to fix that.
The one statement, I think, that stood out in the Windsor declaration, the rest of it was similar, said, calls on all of those living, visiting, or working in our communities to ensure liberty and equity for all persons. So it includes people that are visiting
you're
into the town as
summering
well.
in or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
That's a nice line.
Heartland
Yeah,
considered
Yes, we do.
something like that a couple of years ago. Do you remember? And
at town meeting?
a town
I
meeting,
kind of remember
and
something.
it was the visiting thing that was the sticking point,
Was
and it
it?
did not pass.
So,
Because people were saying, how could you
Oh, yeah.
enforce this against someone who's driving through our town and stops for gas? How, and it turned into this huge discussion. It was not very clearly written, and there was a lot of, this sounds much clearer to me and much.
Yeah, Hartford, it looks like signed on already
Yeah.
too, and Woodstock Village, so.
I personally,
West Windsor and Windsor.
I think as a school, we're trying to meet all of that, but I think it's more important that our community sign on. We're a smaller entity within our community, and I 100%
yeah, I'm excited
back
about
the
it.
select board in
Yeah.
doing that, and I think that them doing it is more important than us doing it. Because we're part of them.
We're part of them, yeah.
Yeah, we're the smaller entity,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Let's make
Right. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to vote
Yeah, so it
per
sounds
se,
like we
but
are
are we in agreement that we would be,
Yeah.
We are
support the select board?
supportive, and if he were to say at the select board meeting, the school board supports us doing this, that sounds like it would be an accurate statement.
I think so.
Agreed.
Great, okay.
Do you want me to communicate that to Phil, or would you like
Yes,
to?
yeah, if you wanna,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Cause I lost his previous email and
Yeah.
a mess of other things.
Walk over there.
So items for action, I don't think we have any specifically. I know there's a community member, who wants to talk to us, but that would be an executive session and we may, choose to have an action after that or not. So we'll address that in a minute. So we'll move on to setting the next agenda. So, right now, I have a further discussion on public participation. I think
It's meaning public participation, like
Just trying to
basically
increase
recruiting
it.
and
Yeah.
getting more involvement.
Community, like staff, students, the whole, everybody,
Yeah.
like let's get,
How to increase public participation
yes.
Yeah.
within the school
And
and
within
in the board
yeah,
meetings.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And then, I think we may have a building update.
Yeah, hopefully, it seemed like we may be able to have something more formal from Black River Designs that I could bring.
That'd
Do
be
we have
great.
a timeline on this, or are we just like kinda inching our way
Well, we
to
said
get
March
somewhere?
of '24
March of 24 for
to,
a bond
to,
vote.
to have
Oh.
a plan that we would have people vote on.
Okay, got it. So we've got, so right now we're just sort of in the preliminary stages of just like, what could this look like,
Yeah.
getting some ideas. And once the three of, or the committee, are you opening it up a little bit to like
We have
some
tried to open it.
staff and to some students to
We-
say like. what
We
do you
have
think
tried
about
to
this?
open it and have gotten, we opened it to the community and got almost no input.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had two people who expressed interest, but the
One
times of
came.
the meetings were difficult,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
yeah, so.
I would reach out to the
we-
rec as you move forward, because I think John has,
yeah,
Yeah.
since there's a lot of competing structures.
yes.
But Heather, I do like your idea, about asking the students, you know, what
Yeah.
parts of the building work
Yeah,
well
that
for
would be
them,
great.
what
Yeah.
parts are a challenge for them.
That's a great
What-
idea.
Yeah, what do they want us,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they can draw some street plans
Right?
too.
They're
Yeah.
in it every day.
I know, they're the ones that live
They
here.
live
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And same with,
Budgetary
same with the
for-
staff too, like they're
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
the ones who are
Yeah.
every day.
Would
Yeah.
you want that for September? I mean, September gets closer, there's not many days of school as
No,
it starts, so
that's-
maybe that's
No,
more of
like,
like an
that's like
October
November.
or a November.
What's
Okay.
nice is that we're like ahead of, I feel like we're doing okay, so,
We've got some time.
yeah.
So maybe that's more of
So let's do
October,
it smart.
November.
Yeah.
Well, the kids are like in here and, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we
You
may
see-
even ask Black River if they have like a canned survey or something to start the conversation.
Yeah, that's a great
Because
idea.
I'm guessing that this isn't the first time that that idea has been floated.
I'll ask them and then I'll let you know what they
Yeah.
say, whether they've got something or we could tweak something, or maybe they have some ideas on ways to ask questions
Yeah.
if they don't have something already created.
Or just observations, like this is something that we've done like in the museum world, is like, you just sit and watch people and how they move around a space, and it's like if someone's always tripping on that corner or whatever, or like no one goes in this corner because something's obstructing something or else.
Oh, interesting.
Like just have somebody sit in the cafeteria and see what's
Oh.
working, what's not working,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or during a gym class.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like weird,
Project
like,
for
I don't know, high school, the ones in our
kids.
And there was significant community interest, you know,
There
in the
was.
security aspects
Yeah.
Right.
of
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
plan.
Absolutely.
That's
So, you know, I think
if you put it back out there with the idea that like, part of this plan is to try to make the building more secure, I think by just saying that, you will get,
Well, we did that a
We
year and a
did.
half ago.
you did?
Yeah.
Well, we even have four of them,
Yeah.
right?
But-
They'll show back
Yeah,
up.
we even had a
They'll-
forum.
They'll show
Yeah.
back.
They'll show.
Yeah,
But I do think that recent events sadly have brought this
Back
again
to
to
the
the
front.
forefront of people's minds.
I think you
Sure.
drafted that email, Sarah, or
Yes,
that
I'll
blurb. If you
find
have
that,
it,
I'll
maybe
find
share
that,
it,
yeah.
yeah. I think, I mean, I feel like,
How many of you have been to Weathersfield School? So I mean, that's the kind of secure
yeah,
entrance that's modern and
yeah.
would be the way to go.
And they did that work, and they added on another, they had this, they have
They
another.
did it in 2010.
cafeteria, right? They
Yeah,
had a gym.
they have a gym now.
Right.
But they renovated, and it was a big number, and it would be even bigger number than what this would suggest, even with the increase from square footage costs from 2014 to today.
Yeah,
But just
and that's a newer building to
Yeah.
begin with too.
yeah, so I think it just I'm just spitballing, but is there a way to take video of the Weathersfield entrance and kind of show them? I don't know.
Yeah.
To show them this is what a secure
This is
building
what
two towns down.
I'm sure we
Looks
can
like-
send these pictures.
Yeah.
I think we have a connection.
Well, and
with
what's
Yeah,
their
I think we
experience?
have a little bit of a connection with
Was there what?
I'm making the assumption that they do school renovations, like this is their
Yes.
bread and butter,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so like
Yeah.
they'd be, like, yeah, so they know
Yeah,
what is the requirements for a secure school now.
yeah,
No, I'm
and they've
talking about
already,
the voters. I'm talking.
Voters,
Yeah.
yes.
but, and, I mean, and that's what's nice, is that we already have a set of
Yeah.
plans that have already addressed the same thing that we, I mean, the issues haven't changed,
No.
so.
But I can bring in September, whether it's, I'll talk to Brian, and whether it's a compilation of photos or a video that just kind of walks you through
This
how you
is-
get in and enter the building. Just
Yeah.
so we can see it.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then
Sorry,
we
just
need,
the other thing, like a blurb from the staff that actually works in that, in the offices, like
The
just a
DJ
little
would
like,
be,
like,
Yeah.
how did you feel about this change
yep,
in your work environment? Cause some, to say, it's like, oh, I love it now, like, oh my gosh, I feel so much safer and
yep.
and capable in my work job.
so I'll keep budget on, no, we need to keep talking about budget.
And
Um,
SU budget will start in
It's gonna
September.
start in September, and I'd like to
Yeah.
get the band back together with the budget committee we had last year. Colleen represented Hartland, and it was really effective. Rebecca and Jamie from Weathersfield.
Yeah. it's
And
good for-
we usually meet Friday mornings, and we meet weekly, and we did that
Yeah.
for about 5-6 meetings, I think.
Okay.
And then we bring it to the board.
So it sounds like we may not have big updates, but I'll let me
Probably
keep it
not.
up there.
Not in
We
September.
can just say that we don't have any updates.
It just occurred to me that this may be the first meeting in 2.5 years where we have not had a COVID update, and we haven't really discussed, that has not been part of the discussion.
Well, let's keep it
But,
that way.
right, I mean, I wanna keep that way, on the other hand, we, once school starts, I would love to hear how things are going and how, how everybody's feeling, how staff are feeling,
Yep.
how,
So I'll add a COVID update to my report in September, even if it is,
even if it's.
there is nothing to
Nothing.
update.
Yeah.
But I'll
Okay.
put something in there.
Are there any, is there anything coming from the state to say what it's gonna look like on August 31st?
Nope.
Like,
Haven't heard a word.
okay.
We're all on our own.
Interesting.
I think I think from what I've heard, I mean, the testing stations have closed, right? It's more, I mean, what we put in our handbook was, if you are sick, stay home. If you are feeling like you wanna wear a mask, you should wear a mask, like if you have symptoms, but we haven't had any guidance on any of it, and it feels like the endemic is here and we've adapted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, although, like, all of my kids were at sleepaway camp the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks, and so this is very much on my mind, like, 2 of them had pretty major outbreaks that needed
Of
to
the
be
camps.
managed at the camps, and like, kids were being, I mean, like,
Isolating
more
kids.
than at any other time during the pandemic, right? Like,
Mhm.
thank God, my kids were not part of it, but like, kids were sent home, there was daily testing, they had to really pivot and manage these situations, so I do think it's, I think it's important to.
We can pivot if need be.
Yeah.
We're prepared.
Got it.
We're right,
We've
there's
done
a
it.
good experience
Experience.
But I
here
think we do
now
need to
and-
say like, there needs to be a COVID update, like, into
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
parent letter or something, cause I think,
And do we have, like, how,
yeah.
in that parent letter, we should say how we're gonna handle a case? Like, are we doing what the state recommends of 5 days and then coming back with a mask, or?
There has not
Or
been
make a
guidance on it.
recommendation.
Yeah, there
We
hasn't been
have
guidance for
no
schools.
guidance on it, for schools, nothing.
Right
And
back where we started.
well, we've done it for so long.
Right.
That I think if we start to have cases, we'll come together and we'll say, this is what we need to do, but we were hoping to start, a new year without a focus on COVID. And so.
But we got through one meeting, sort of.
Sorry, I ruined it.
That's okay.
And we don't wanna, we'll do what we need to do, but we're gonna start out not contact tracing. If your child gets COVID, we're gonna send that child home, but that's the
Yeah,
extent of it
plenty
at this
rapid
point.
tests.
Yeah, yeah,
There's like no reason, I don't feel like
Yeah.
there's a reason to anymore.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think so either, I think when it's not.
Well, I
the
mean,
right time,
as a
it's not.
parent, I would love to know if my kid was exposed. It would just help me be a little more hyper aware if of anything, like just to monitor my kid for that week to make sure, and maybe test a few times to be safe for
Yep.
other people, but that's just
And we talked about that because
Yeah.
it's
a lot.
a lot. It's time consuming to do that work.
Right.
And the fact that, you know, we did talk about that as a team and determined if there's a parent that's really nervous about their child getting COVID, they should call the nurse and ask the nurse to notify them if there's a case in that class individually, so that we're not robocalling
Yeah.
classroom after classroom after classroom. Because it's going to be here.
Yeah.
Our school at the end of the
It's
year
going
was just doing, we got individual emails. There was a case in 3rd grade. Do with it what you want. You know, it was kind of like, that was all we would get an email about that. And it was, the last time they were in school was on Tuesday. And that's the information we got as staff and parents.
Which is contact tracing, essentially.
Yes, but it was to the whoever, it was like one email list.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't in one email.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
But
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We are hoping not to go there, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, so I think that covers the next agenda, so we've got a public participation discussion, a building update, continue with the budget, and Lindsay's gonna do potentially a COVID update as part of the administrative report, but I'm leaving it there anyway. And then we're also gonna have, a planned executive session to discuss SBACs. Okay. So that is done. Okay, so, I would take a motion to move into executive session, to discuss 2 separate student matters, and to have we have continued budget discussion on here, which I'll check in, but I think we're all set.
I think we're all set, but we'll check in.
We'll check in. Okay.
I still
Okay.
move.
Okay, so
I
Colleen
second.
moves, Beth
Second.
seconds. Okay, and, all those in favor of moving into executive session, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, 5-0. We are now in executive session.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording.
Well, hold on, yeah, and then, Haley, so CATV is gonna leave.
Whoop. Kelly just
Oh,
left.
Oh,
Hallie just, hold on.
oh, there she is, okay.
Hi, Hallie.
So,
Sorry about that.
That's okay, hold on one
You may
second.
have to move into a separate Google Meet anyway, because it's a public link that she's on right now, so technically anybody could join it
Yeah.
and be
Right.
able to
You
session.
kick 'em out.
So
I
we
would
will
kick
have
'em
to
out,
end this
right.
meeting in a separate
She
Google
wouldn't
Meet
let you
and
in.
reopen that you guys will.
You're
be on
not-
your computers.
but you're not gonna end it, cause I own it. You're gonna end it you're gonna leave the
Nope.
meeting,
Yeah,
and
I'm
it'll
just
still
gonna
be
be
open.
leaving the meeting,
Yeah.
but this meeting link is
Yeah.
available
Anyone
for
can
the
pop in.
public,
Right, but
so-
she can
She could
see
deny
if anyone-
people.
yeah.